Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. There's been quite a few times in recent weeks where you guys have been suggesting to me, Benson, it's all well and good looking at the players that Chelsea don't have. Who can we buy? Of course, it's the January transfer window. That tends to be what the majority of content is around this time of the year. And of course, in the summer come the end of the season. But we have got here 4 pages of Chelsea loanees that I want to look through today because there is, how many? That's 16 of them. There's 4 on each graphic. I'm going to flash them through here and we're going to stop by in order and go through from goalkeeper through to attackers and raise any points of necessity really about whether or not any of these players should be at Chelsea right now. Should there be any of these players that come the end of their loans are considered for the first team squad next season, as January seems to be relatively quiet for Chelsea. It is the 29th of Jan right now, and it's first thing in the morning. There isn't any breaking news right now that we're about to sign this guy, that guy. But I will say this, I do think over the course of the next few days, there will be some action for Chelsea in this transfer window. So make sure you're subscribed to the George Benson football channel. Hit the like button if you want to see another loanee update video, I guess you could say, over the course of the next couple of months before the end of the season. And we begin with a man who somehow got himself a loan to Real Madrid at the beginning of this season. Kepa Arrizabalaga, a player who, if you play Football Manager, it's almost impossible to get rid of this guy because he's on big money at Chelsea. Nobody wants him because Chelsea want to sell Kepa for a price that we consider fair. And I think up until the beginning of this season, where we sanctioned the loan to go to Real Madrid, I think Chelsea have been looking at Kepa and thinking, well, there have been moments where he's been in good form, then you bring the price tag back up again, which you've got to do. When you're spending 72 million on a goalkeeper 5 years ago or whatever it was now, you've got to look at that and be like, the world's most expensive goalkeeper at a time, and he's never really been that at Chelsea. So, at Real Madrid, he played 12 games. There are a couple of good performances in there, but then he got injured. And since then, Ancelotti's not really favoured him. So when it comes to Kepa, Chelsea will be lucky this summer, maybe, to get 20 million quid. We move. Gabriel Slonina, biding his time right now in Belgium. He's played 19 matches this season, on average making 4.4 saves a game, which is actually a pretty good number, considering for a goalkeeper. That's double the amount of saves that Kepa was making, but Kepa was playing for Real Madrid, so there's less action to force a save. With Slonina, I think when you look at MLS goalkeepers, Chelsea might have got the bargain of the season. 14 million for Petrovic. He's still at Chelsea right now. That is proving to be a great sign-in, and we're going to have to wait and see with Slonina over the course of time. Ian Maatsen. He's killing it right now, isn't he? And I am not surprised whatsoever. And the Dortmund X account, Twitter account, is already tweeting images of him with the words beast next to it. So for Chelsea, I think this is one of those where if it wasn't Pochettino in charge and it was a different manager, you might have seen Maatsen play a lot more this season. When you look at the fact that now we're pretty desperate to sign a left-back because, well, there's no one able to play left-back and we're playing 4 centre-backs every time that we're playing because all of our full-backs are injured. It's mental that Chelsea even considered loaning Ian Maatsen out in this January transfer window. He gets a big move. Dortmund flying in the Bundesliga. Well, not necessarily flying. Bayer Leverkusen. They're the ones with the Red Bull gives you wings. They're flying right now. But Dortmund are always up there. And Ian Maatsen has started his Dortmund career on fire. And it's not a surprise to me. And it's not a surprise to a lot of you lot as well who tweet me, message me saying, look, why have Chelsea done this? I don't know. I wish I was the one making the decisions because I wouldn't have done this, especially when we're sticking Badiashile left back. We're sticking Levi Colwill left back. Chilwell is fit now for how bloody long? Touchwood knocks the desk. We move into Bashir Humphreys at Swansea. Swansea were battered 5-0 by Bournemouth in the FA Cup at the weekend. But Bashir Humphreys was another one of those players. Bring it back to last summer. Let's go upstream a little bit. Bashir was looking good in pre-season. And there's a lot of players that get minutes in pre-season because Pochettino is looking and thinking, well, we're Chelsea. We're probably going to spend money. We just brought in Axel Disasi, who's doing all right. Let's be honest, he's doing all right. It's about as much as we can say right now. But with Humphreys, I think the move to Swansea was the right one. He's getting a lot of game time right there. You can see here 3 clearances per game, 1 interception per game as well. And I'd say that the loan is going relatively well from what we hear from Swansea fans right now about his performances. Let's move here into tab number 2. Tino Anjorin. You guys remember this bloke when he broke through and was getting minutes, I think it was in like the Europa League a few years ago under Sarri. People were talking about him as like the bigger, stronger version of Ruben Loftus-Cheek. 8 matches for Portsmouth this season. He did get a big injury. I think it was in October, which kind of took him out the team. He was getting a lot of minutes at the start of the season. Did get himself a goal, but it's kind of like, what's happened to Tino Anjorin? He's one of those players who has just sneakily fallen off the radar. It's a shame. Lewis Hall, obligation to buy at Newcastle come the summer, 35 million quid. I think Lewis Hall is going to be an absolute baller. For whatever reason, under Eddie Howe, it's not quite worked out for him. He got himself a goal at Manchester United. I think it was at Old Trafford. He's played 11 times for Newcastle, which isn't really a lot considering how many injuries they've had at that club. When you think Lewis Hall could be a left-back right now at Chelsea. It's actually mind-blowing that 6 loanees into this video, we're already talking about having no fullbacks, but 2 of them are on loans and could easily be playing for Chelsea right now. Amari Hutchinson plays for Ipswich. You don't want to play for Ipswich right now because they lost to Maidstone United in the FA Cup over the weekend. 3 goals, 2 assists for Amari, 31 appearances. And I think the good thing about this loan for Hutchinson is that Ipswich are doing well. When you go to a championship club and you're kind of being asked to be the star player in a struggling side or in a mid-table side, you can kind of go missing a little bit. Now, the fact that Ipswich potentially are looking at a playoff place this season, could get promoted to the Premier League. It could be one of those loans where he's playing a lot of football. So if Ipswich do go up, then it's an opportunity to keep him at Ipswich next season, give Amari Hutchinson another loan, Premier League football, and see how he gets along. Harvey Vale, 30 games for Bristol Rovers, 2 goals and 4 assists. I feel a bit sorry for Harvey Vale as well. I mean, you say you feel sorry for some of these players, but it looks as though when they make it on the bench at Chelsea, a few years ago, Harvey Vale was consistently appearing on the Chelsea bench. And now he's at Bristol Rovers, and these numbers aren't really setting the world alight. They're not setting the world on fire. So for Harvey Vale, I do think it's a case of finding his feet at the level in which he is as a footballer. Whether that's Bristol Rovers, whether that's a championship club, I don't know. But it doesn't look to me as though he's going to make it at Chelsea. Let's move into tier number 3. It's not really tier number 3. It's actually just slide number 3 here today. Charlie Webster at Heerenveen. Charlie Webster was a player at the beginning of the season. Looked at this move and I was thinking, is this going to be one of those like Mason Mount goes to Vitesse kind of loans? Not really. 7 games played, 1 goal. It's not looking good. Alex Matos just signed on loan this January to Huddersfield. He's already played 5 games, 0.3 key passes per game. Pass percentage of 66.4%. I don't know if that's him or his teammates, but it's not exactly world-beating numbers, but an exciting player to keep an eye on nonetheless. Mason Burstow. He scored a goal for Sunderland at the weekend, and that's big news. As a striker, you've got to be scoring goals, and somehow Mason Burstow may not have been scoring this season, but he's still getting minutes here for Southampton, Sunderland, not bloody Southampton. So good luck to him for the rest of the season. David Datro Fofana. This is where it's interesting here. You've got Burstow, you've got Fofana, you've got Chelsea desperate for strikers. But the reality of the situation is, Chelsea, Pochettino, we're always going to give Armando Broja minutes over the young players like Burstow, like Fofana. We recalled Fofana from Union Berlin. It was a good start for him, kind of petered off towards the end. And then we loaned him out again. And I think for Chelsea here, it's a case of we've got to look at where we're spending this money. And it goes back to what we've said at the beginning of the season. You can buy all of these young players. Chelsea can't go out and have 35 players out on loan anymore. The rules when it comes to loaning out players has changed. We can't be that club that we used to be. But you're looking at some of these numbers here for some of these players and you're like, you don't really understand how they've got at Chelsea in the first place. And when you're thinking about loans, you're wondering, how many loans is it going to be? Is this the one loan? And then you come back to Chelsea and then you're part of the squad next season? With all of these players so far, apart from probably Lewis Hall, who's probably going to, well, he's obligated to go to Newcastle as long as he plays enough minutes or games, as far as I'm aware. Amari Hutchinson is quite far off right now. Gabriel Slanina, Petrovic is doing all right. Sanchez will be the number 2. you're looking and you're thinking, well, how many of these players are actually close to making it at Chelsea right now? And the answer is very few. Angelo Gabriel. He's playing in France right now. I think this kid could be a really exciting player. I think technically, for his age, he's very good. I think he has adapted to European football relatively well. The numbers aren't outstanding, but again, it's another slow burner here with Angelo Gabriel. There's a lot of those young South American talents that Chelsea are either looking to invest in, or in this case, have already invested in, that will be very slow burners. There needs to be a time to adjust to European football, and who knows if it will ever become the option at Chelsea. Of course, we also saw Andre Santos on loan at Forest. That didn't work out. He's now back at Chelsea, as well as Cassidy, who could well feature in the Premier League game at Liverpool, at least from the bench. Romelu Lukaku. It's taken us 11 minutes here, but this is probably the biggest conversational point of this video. Look at these numbers from Lukaku and imagine it at Chelsea. The problem is, it wouldn't be the same at Chelsea. Lukaku, as a striker, is built for Serie A. I don't think Lukaku is built for the pressure that comes with being Chelsea's number 9. 15 goals, 2 assists in 27 games this season. At the time of recording this for Romelu Lukaku. These are amazing numbers. And if you add these numbers into this Chelsea team, which obviously you can't do, it's hypothetical, it's hindsight, it's a wonderful thing, then Chelsea would be up there fighting for the Champions League places. But the issue is, with Romelu, he's never going to do it at Chelsea. For whatever reason, it just doesn't work. And a lot of people are saying, well, if we can't get our top targets, let's say Victor Osimhen chooses Arsenal, chooses Liverpool, Man United over Chelsea, then who could that striker possibly be? All right, go on then, we'll give Lukaku another shot. This cannot happen. The guy has never really wanted to be at Chelsea, and I'm a firm believer of the conspiracy theory that Inter Milan needed the money and Romelu Lukaku wanted to help them out. And then from the moment he got to Chelsea, wanted to go back to Inter, it was all a mess, and it will continue to be a mess. Hakim Ziyech, Galatasaray. This guy on his given day can be an absolutely fantastic footballer. However, it's the attitude for me that absolutely stinks at Chelsea. At times, he looked like he was totally disinterested. Yes, there were managers coming and going. Like 1 minute he was favoured, the next minute he wasn't favoured. And it's always been tricky. There was an option for Galatasaray to sign him at the end of the season for free. And even they have said, no, thank you. I think it says everything you need to know. Dion Rankin, 20 matches at Exeter, 1 goal, 1 assist. That is the end of the Chelsea LOANEE'S roundup. I didn't want to go into too much detail because I can't lie to you. I don't have time to watch that much more football than the Premier League. So I'm not really watching any of these guys that are in foreign leagues week in, week out. But from the base stat level that we've flicked through here today, that is the updates on the performances in terms of stats from these players. If you do support, for whatever reason, and you're here in the comments, any of these clubs, and you watch these Chelsea LOANEE'S, please do give us a bit more insight in the comments down below. Have a flick through, look through the comments, see if you find anything of interest. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe if you are new, and I'll catch you lot later.